Oh, there's Hannah P. All right, friends. Let me turn this up. Hannah, can you hear me okay? Hannah P. Hello, hello. Microphone is okay. Oh, there you are. Okay. Can you hear me okay? Okay, awesome. Sweet. All right. Well, hi. How's it going? You're all chatty today. I like it. Let's keep that going so I don't have to talk at you for 2 hours. My vocal cords are still healing from a breathing tube, which is always interesting. I was like talking to my husband yesterday. I was like, I sound like a teenage boy. What is this? This is all crackly. But it's good. I was sad to miss pranayama with you all because that's one of my favorite things to teach. How was that? Good. Samantha's amazing. So I knew you were in good hands. Any questions about have you dove into the recordings, the practices for pranayama yet? No. Okay. No big deal. Just want to check if you have questions about it. Okay. Well, we're gonna do, I can't believe we're on the third eye chakra already. So we're already at number 6. This is wild. Um, just so you know, if you look at like any kind of books and things like that, information about the chakras, the chakra or the chapter on the root chakra will be like this big, and then as you go up they start to get smaller. So like the third eye and the crown chakra, really we could combine them into one evening, so one session, because what ends up happening is they're actually really experiential. And so it's kind of like the more we try to describe the thing, the further away from the experience of it we get. So um, you're probably going to hear me say a lot of times tonight, I don't know, right? Or it depends. So just kind of keep that in mind as we start going through. But let's do a check-in. So checking in about the throat chakra. Um, did you have extra homework for that one? I'm looking. Mm. Did you already do did you do your little compliments to each other? Yeah, by the look on your faces, I know you don't have any clue what I'm talking about. Okay. So this is actually something that you can do, and I encourage you to do this because it's just a really sweet bonding exercise for you all. Um, so last week you should have gotten the assignment to write each other. So you write each person in the Sangha a compliment, but not like a compliment like, I really love your shirt today, right? Like some truth about that person that you see in them that maybe they don't see in themselves. And then tonight we would have read some of them together. So what I would have you do is let's do that for next week. Okay. So that when you do your check-in next week, you can read your little love notes out loud. Okay. You could write them on a little slip of paper. It doesn't have to be anything like super formal. You don't have to like write, 10 letters or anything like that. Just a couple like words of encouragement or something that you've noticed about the other person. And then, you pass them out tomorrow. Next week. I'm a little fuzzy still. You pass them out next week and then you get to read them and pick a couple to read out loud. Sound good? Cool. I love that exercise. It's one of like the sweetest ones that we do. So I encourage you to do it. Okay. So in terms of your throat chakra, talk to me about your takeaways. How did it go last week? And then anything else you want to tell me? Because I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. Who wants to go first? You were all chatty like 2 minutes ago. Now everybody's like, "No, no, I must not share."
I can go first.
I appreciate it. Here we go. Let me pass this over because Hannah P is online tonight. There you go.
Gotten a triple chin treatment. Sorry. Um, you may not remember, but the first time that I did my chanting, I felt a lot come up in my throat. And my throat actually tends to be my big feeling indicator. Tightness, like the lump, things come up in my throat, sensations there. Um, if it's not anxiety related, it's gonna be here. My anxiety lives in my tummy. So this chakra, the homework singing in my car, that's was easy for me. I'm always doing that. And then what was the other one? Oh, I started humming at work, even if it seems a little awkward to me. I read that it has a lot of benefits, and I've noticed, like I work at Trader Joe's, which is very stimulating, like so much like visually, the noise levels. And when I start to hum, it really brings me into my body and into the moment. And the Om Mani Padme Hum, that chant, I've started humming that chant at work, and it's actually been really like, I'm like, wow, this is feels like a game changer in terms of like regulating my nervous system a little bit better. Because I can get kind of overwhelmed in there. So both of those homeworks were kind of what I touched on a little bit. This one I feel maybe a similar version to that I did to my solar plexus, where I'm like do a little afraid to go there in a sense. But as I like learn about it, I can see the ways that I have like used my throat chakra, which kind of brings me to my theme in class, which would be, can you take a what is one of your perceived failures that has been a catalyst for profound reinvention? Which I didn't necessarily think of all those words myself, but when I think of those things and I bring that idea to myself, like I've had a lot of failures and setbacks in my life, like one of them being like going into the Air Force and then getting out when I was in tech school and stuff like that. And that was a huge catalyst into me feeling like I started living the life that I was meant to live, not one that was malicious or whatever, you know? So anyways, that would be kind of my theme is like, hey, can we think about these things that have propelled us in the direction that we're going now and all the gifts that are, you know, challenges have given us. I'm sending it this way.
Job.
Girl, girl, get headphones. Like it is so much. Everyone's like packed like sardines. It's a lot. All the babies are like, let's cry now.
Yes.
I'm screaming now.
Um, so this week was pretty good for me. I was nervous about the throat chakra all along because I think that I have a problem, like a block in my throat chakra, but I feel either what I think is a block there is a block maybe somewhere else, and I'm learning that, or I'm like at a point right now, currently in my life, where I'm like working through this thing that has been holding me back for a long time. I'm not sure which it is. But I noticed that this week went better for me than I thought. I love to sing, but so I was singing a lot. I'm not very good at it, but recently I've like stopped caring about that. I think it's taken me like 30 plus years to just be like, I can sing. It doesn't matter if I'm good. So that was actually pretty fun for me. Um, and I did some chanting. I had gotten myself a mala after our chanting last time. So I did some of that. And when I read True Yoga, I read it out loud. Just, I guess mostly using my voice is what I was working on this week because as everyone probably knows, I state that I have a problem using my voice. So feel like maybe I'm finding it a little bit, possibly. Um, so when I thought about theming, it kind of felt similar to what felt for last week's. But just like thinking about your voice, like in your head, how you talk to yourself, which is kind of what I thought for the heart one too. Um, and then I really like those three, the gates of speech that are there. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? So I think in a class, I would maybe kind of bring those up and encourage people to maybe off the mat, ask themselves those questions before, you know, go unloading on someone or whatever happens. So, um, yeah, I think that's everything. And then I wanted to share really quickly before this, because I always thought maybe I would want to do yoga with little kids if I did yoga. And I got home from work today, and my two little neighbor boys that are always out come running over, and I like said hi to them. And then I told them that I have to get ready because I'm going to school. And they're like, for school, for what? And I told them to be a yoga teacher, and both of them got in little yoga poses. So then we started doing all these little poses together, and I was like, okay, I guess I got 5 minutes to do this with you guys. So that was really fun. And I thought, well, maybe I do want to do that. So we'll see.
It's a great idea. I honestly don't have a lot to report for this one. I don't know, it's just been a rough like last week and a half, just very drained. Just haven't had days off now in like a month, and that's been getting to me. So, I took a little bit of time just to kind of focus on resting and like just recovering kind of. Um, so I do intend to go back to it though, because I have done like meditations and stuff like that are like were specifically for the throat chakra, and I remember them being super influential, like just amazing. Like I remember in college, like I would do the same meditation over and over if I had like a speech or something, because I'd be so nervous about public speaking, and I really feel like it worked. So I definitely plan to go back and like revisit this one. It just felt kind of on a bad week. So
Hey girl. Hi guys. Okay, so let me check my notes. I always get nervous. I don't know why. It's just y'all, but it's like I don't know if you guys like anyway. Okay, so I feel like this one I was like, oh, I'm totally imbalanced with my throat chakra. Like I'm so good at talking, blah blah blah. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should practice some silence this week for the throat chakra. Um, and so that was really interesting because it goes kind of hand in hand with like meditation or like not always having to have music playing or like a podcast and just kind of like enjoying the quiet. And I found that I can like listen to my body more that way. So that was like a central theme for me was like not talking and listening to my body. So um sorry if this is like TMI, but so I like started my period on during posture clinic, and it's so funny, we're all like syncing up, but um Renato was like kind of told me like I should be honoring my body more because I was like, oh, girl, I just started, and she was like, why are you doing all the poses then? And I was like, oh snap, like I mean, I guess maybe it's like an American thing to always push through and like you don't get to take off work or like honor when your body needs rest the most all the time. So I realized like I've been kind of forcing her, and like I don't, now that I don't need to, like I'm just so accustomed to doing that that even if I don't have to, it's still happening. So I'm just like trying to honor my body and listen to her more. So that's what I have to say for the throat chakra.
Alright, just spinning poor Hannah around.
Okay. Hi, Hannah. Miss you. Um, okay, so this week was an interesting one for me as well. I'm a teacher, so I exercise this guy a lot. I talk a lot, but what I thought about a lot this week is truth, I think, and the fact that I do exercise my voice a lot as part of my job. But then in my personal life, when I'm using my voice, it's not always in the most authentic way.
And similarly, when I'm using my voice at work, it's not always in the most authentic way. It's like I'm in teacher, like Miss L character. And then in my personal life, right now, I have a lot going on. So I don't always speak my truth because I'm protective of it or trying to, save other people from kind of towing that line, but maybe towing it a little bit too much to where I'm just kind of not being honest. So that was like a theme that I think I would want to bring up to students is like, you might think you use your voice often, but tapping into what you say and what you do truly a reflection of your own truth, or is it what you want to project to the world? Is it a character that you're playing? Because I think our voices are a really big part of that. I don't know if that made sense, but that was what I thought about. So thanks.
Thank you. Hello. So I did a lot of singing this week, which I feel like is pretty normal for me. Like I think Katie, you said, or one of you said I'm always singing in the car, and I'm like, yeah, me too. Great. But then I also tried to more intentionally practice silence as well. And Beck, I'm glad that you said that as well, of like not always having stimulus, because I feel like I really depend on background noise, whether it's like music or a podcast or an audiobook or like unfortunately like TikToks and reels that I just like scroll through while I'm walking about my house, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? So I tried to be more intentional about withdrawing in that way and having more intentional silence. Um, so that felt good. It definitely feels like I feel apprehensive initially, but then it always feels good after. So I feel like I just need to remember that future feeling and kind of like preemptively thanking myself for the good that I will do for myself later. And then when I thought about theming, um, I was thinking a lot. I don't have it open, but I really resonated with the idea of understanding with the throat chakra, and how, like, I don't know, I guess like through yoga, you can come to a deeper and more honest understanding of yourself. So it's not really like a fully fleshed out theme, but it was something that I was thinking about of like, how can you use the physical postures or the meditation or the pranayama to understand yourself more truly and deeply, and to like, I don't know, create space for that and remove the things that are not true so truth can have room in you. I don't know. The word, yeah, that's all.
Hi, Hannah.
Okay, so throat chakra. This was interesting. So one thing is not like the homework per se, but I just noticed last week I hold so much tension in my face, like so much tension in my face. And so I was just kind of like doing like some self massage, and I was like, oh my God, like I there were certain spots, it was like my whole face would be like, and I was like, wow, this is so eye-opening. And then I did some research because I was like, is this connected to the throat chakra? And then it was like, bam, yes, it is. And so I was like, okay, that kind of like tracks, like especially like the TMJ and through your neck and things like that. So I bought this random thing on TikTok. I don't go on social media very much, and this is why I was on there for like 10 minutes and I bought something. And I was like, okay, sold, but it looks good. So I got this like little like neck massager thing for your face, and that just came in today, so I'm really excited about it. So yeah, my face, I was just paying so much attention to it. And I also get that like feeling in my throat a lot. So this was the first of the chakras. I was like, oh, I think I have a blockage, you know? And I was like, then I started beating myself up over it. And it wasn't until Amy's class yesterday that I went to, she was talking about like surrendering and is there something you can let go of? And it wasn't even until that class that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really giving myself a hard time about this. Like me beating myself up over having a blocked chakra is probably not the answer to like releasing it. So I would say this week has just been like a lot of awareness. I like to sing in the car, so that was no problem for me. Hearing you all talk, I think I can definitely like I need to practice silence more. I always have something going. I can't sleep without a podcast or audiobook.
But that's hard for me because like that's been a new development within the past year or so when I just couldn't sleep in general. So I'm like having this. Now I can at least sleep. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, I'll give this up and just be in the silence. Like maybe I'm not quite there yet, but maybe the awareness is nice to have. Like, okay, can we like shift the needle a little bit and eventually get there. So one quote that I like that I learned like with my time with Native American people was like there's a reason we have two eyes, two ears, and only one mouth. So that's one that just as you all were talking, I thought of that I wanted to share.
Hi, Hannah Marie. Um, I just feel so connected. Like every time someone talks, I'm like, oh God, I feel that. And sometimes I feel like I'm a week ahead. 'Cause like I saw something last week that it was like take silence in your like in your life, and I've been doing that in the car. Like sometimes I drive by myself because my husband and I work together, and ever since I started this on Tuesdays, Thursdays, I drive by myself, and I like don't play any music, and I just like sit there with myself because I I read something, or like it probably was a TikTok, that it was like sometimes like you're your own magic, and when you sit in silence with yourself, you can create something and you can listen to your body. So I've been doing that a lot, and I'm a teacher, so I'm always talking for 90 minutes, the same thing either 3 times a day or 4 times a day. So I find that I use my voice a lot, but I don't feel like I'm speaking my truth. When you said that, I was like, oh my God, like that is it. And I've been taking silence and a step back into like when I decide to speak or say something, I want it to be meaningful. I don't just want to talk just to talk, right? So I've been finding myself in that position this week, especially with the throat chakra. I was like, and I don't sing that much because when I was little, someone told me if you don't have a good voice, don't sing. So it's that trauma. So I've been dealing with that, and I think that's where I like when I do the sequence, I'm like, oh my God, am I sounding high pitch? And I do joke that I have two different personalities because when I speak Spanish, my voice is way different than when I speak English. So that's also something that I'm trying to figure out what tone, what personality I want to bring into all this. So that's where I've been. And I did try the neti pot because my husband had a septum surgery, so he had it, and it was the most uncomfortable thing ever. I was like, what is happening? But I do have like a lot of ever since I moved here, the climate's so dry, I have bloody boogers. So I saw all that and I was like, oh, this is not good. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Hi, Hannah. Okay, so I didn't practice that much, like the exercise that I was supposed to do, but like listening to everyone now, like I can relate to what everyone said, um, especially like the Spanish thing. Like I feel that I have three different personalities for each language. Like, and I was like thinking about it this past week about that, and it's just like weird, like how like when you change your voice, like you change your language, the things that you speak are also different. So I was thinking like how that impacts my true self. Like I feel that I have been like a different person to each language. What sounds really weird, but I think that it's something that I need to work on it and try like to change just to try to become myself again. I don't know if that makes sense. It's really like weird to say that out loud. Um, but yeah, especially because I deal with a lot of different people in the different languages. So I'm always like saying something different to a person that I wouldn't say in another language. So yeah, I think that that is not like so good for ourselves because then we kind of like forget who we were truly are, because we're always living in those characters. So yeah, it's something that I need to work on for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Hi. I'm really sorry. Um, I try not to cry. I really don't want to talk about anything, but my theme was just gonna say like progress isn't linear, and I need to remind myself of that. Sorry, I have a lot of PTSD right now.
Thank you. Hannah P. Do you want to go? No, you're muted. Oh, now you joined another way. I don't know.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, good.
Hi, my iPad was being dumb and now it's closed and still doing stuff. I need tech support. I'm gonna go in a different room. It's so nice to hear all of you. I'm so sad I'm not there. I'm finally feeling better. So I like want to drive down there. But I've been yeah, I feel like I didn't connect to my throat chakra like as much as some of you guys did, but I do love singing and I put my beats on and opened all my windows and sang to my neighbors yesterday. So that was good. And I've been using my neti pot because my sinuses are disgusting, and Vero, I'm right there with you. I was like, what came out was crazy. So I feel like I'm kind of connecting with my throat chakra, but I feel Kelly too with the jaw tension. I've been like noticing that, so I feel like I need to go see a TMJ specialist. But other than that, yeah, no, it's good to see all you guys. Sending my love to all of you, especially some of you. Megan. Okay, I love you guys. It's good to see you.
My goodness. You're precious. I love it. Yeah, really great insights, all of you. It's the throat chakra is not I I'm with you. It was the first one that I was like, what is that? I don't like that sensation at all. It was very off-putting. But the more you work with these things, the easier and kind of like the softer the edges become, right? So just know, like, if you came up against any of those like sticky feelings, like I'm blocked here, this is the first one where I'm like, I really feel it. Just know that, remember, like, yeah, don't beat yourself up, right? It's all a process. It's all a process. And there's not one point in time where you're just going to like zing yourself into complete balance and then stay that way forever, right? And this is all just about learning more about who you are and how things work. And so you're doing it. You're doing it. So whether you think you've done the homework or you think you've skipped the homework, like it's all there, right? So that said, don't forget to do your little compliments to each other. That's going to be really powerful for you all. And then, yeah, let's dive in. Let's talk about the third eye. We're gonna get woo with it tonight. You good with the woo? Yeah. I love your face. You're like, yes, please. Again, remember that like some of the things that we're going to talk about, like the more you try to like nail it down, it's like, it's just going to squidge out from underneath your thumb, right? Because these are all just really experiential things. So, let's start with how you even pronounce this thing. There's two different ways that you can pronounce this. Depends on dialect and all that good stuff, but one way is ajna. So you can say ajna. The other way is more of like a nasally sound. You press your tongue to the back of your palate and it's anya. Yeah. Anya. Yeah. One day I'll figure out all of these tabs. And so this is really like the Ajna chakra is really about beyond wisdom. So it is beyond the things that you have like factually learned, right? It's also the command center for all of the other chakras. And so when we chant and we bring the end of the vibration of the bija sound up to the third eye, that's to help, right, with that idea of it being the command center. When we look at this chakra, let's do a quick little kind of review in terms of the nadis, because remember, the nadis, the spiritual channels or flow, right, that contain the prana, they dead end at the third eye and then exit back out through the nostrils, right? And so this is kind of the end of that pranic chain with the chakras. When we get into the crown chakra next week, crown chakra lies outside of the kind of closed system that we can really impact through pranayama. Did Samantha talk to you about that at all? Okay, that's okay. When we look at ways that we can actually influence the prana that is in the chakras, it is through pranayama. So like when the nadis dead end at the third eye and they crisscross and exit out of their respective nostrils, that's like your direct channel to affecting the chakras or affecting the pranic system, if you will. Okay, so all of those nadis. The thing is, though, is that Ida and Pingala, while they are essential for our functioning in terms of like bringing in, you know, nutrients and expiring things that we no longer need, what happens is they kind of keep us locked in this like idea of the two extremes of our mind, right? They kind of keep us like in the concrete. And so it limits us in being able to access like mystical experiences when we stay locked in those like the solar or the lunar mind, right? So we're either like creative or we're active. We're either thinking, resting, digesting, or we are running away from a tiger, right? When we get locked into that, it becomes really tricky because when we get stuck in that like solar mindset of Pingala, we're so locked into like the physical that we forget that there's things that we can't possibly see with the eyes that we have sticking in front of our face, right? And so one example that I always use for this is my chickens. Those silly birds. But like, think about it, right? A rooster will crow well before the sunrise actually starts, right? And it's because they can see in ultraviolet light. So they can see things that we can't necessarily see with our own eyes. And so we kind of get locked into this idea that, well, if I can't see it, smell it, taste it, or touch it, or hear it, then it doesn't exist, right? But like the chickens are like, no, the sun's coming up like in an hour and a half. We know because I can see it, right? And so we kind of get stuck in that. And then when we are stuck in that more lunar mind, right, that Ida mind, we're so creative and we're so open that we can't like latch on to one thing, right? We can't understand that even though there are all of these other maybe mystical experiences and things like that, we fail to see that they all have the same common thread. Does this make sense? Ish. Okay, we're gonna go with ish. And so really the third eye really represents our ability to use our intuition. And it's so Vero, you were talking about earlier that like things keep coming up like the week before for you. And like the same thing happened earlier. I kept seeing like all these things about intuition, intuition, intuition. I was like, I'm about to go teach that. So that's interesting. But so what happens is when we are young and we haven't been like completely marred by life's experiences and societal expectations and things like that, we're much more open, right? Kids are really able to openly perceive a lot of things. And then over time, it kind of, our experiences compound on that. Societal expectations are like, intuition is worthless. We can't use that. And I saw a really good explanation of intuition is that essentially what we're doing with intuition, and it goes deeper than this, and I'm not belittling the idea of intuition, is that it's like pattern recognition, right? Ultimately, you're recognizing patterns. Maybe you don't know that you're recognizing these patterns, but you're seeing things happen so that when you notice a particular pattern, you're like, oh, this is the thing that's going to happen, right? Or this is the thing that I need to do. And that kind of creates a little bit of a buffer so that we can talk ourselves out of the spiritual aspect of intuition. You know what I mean? So how do we know, right? Because there's a fine line between our intuition, so like a knowing, and anxiety, right? How do you know the difference?
Anxiety is something that hasn't happened yet.
Okay. Say more.
Like for me, when I'm anxious, it's like I'm like thinking about all these like what ifs,
Mhm.
and like none of that has even happened yet. It's like a worrying. Maybe it's like a worrying
Yeah.
about the future. Where intuition is like something just feels right in your
Okay.
soul. You know.
Okay.
We'll talk about this.
Okay.
Kelly just gave me an amazing book, which I actually finished yesterday. I forgot to read it, but I'll read it on Thursday.
But it was basically the book analyzes the differences between thoughts and thinking.
Mm.
Thoughts being something that we can't control that just populate our minds and can't harm us, right? Like it's the thing that just pops in. The thinking comes after that initial thought, and that's where the anxiety comes in versus that thought, the thing that just arrives might be a piece of your intuition, and then the spiral from said thought could be anxiety.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
It does.
The book-
It makes sense.
book about- yeah, what is it?
It's called Don't Believe Everything You Think.
That is what it's called.
Yeah, I'll send you all a link. It's really good.
It sounds, I think someone just gave me that book as well.
It's very
It sounds
interesting.
very,
It's very
yeah.
inspiring.
That sounds really, really familiar. And I think Peggy just gave that book to me not too long ago. Okay. Well, perhaps I should read it now. What else? Talk to me. Yeah.
I feel like anxiety might have more to do with like your baggage and your personal experiences.
Okay.
And intuition is something that doesn't come necessarily from something you have experienced prior, but then that sense of like knowing and that higher, it's just maybe it doesn't have anything to do with like your own personal things, you know?
Mhm.
Maybe one's personal, it's less personal.
Yeah. Okay. Beck, what do you have to say?
I think paying attention to like how your body feels about the thought. Like if you're somebody who feels anxiety in your tummy, then maybe the gut feeling is not gonna lead you the right way. But for me, I get like tingles and stuff that start in different places. And I still don't know if that's like good or bad or what I'm supposed to discern from that. But I think like an intuition thought, you might feel it differently versus an anxiety thought. Like just knowing, I guess, your body.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I love it. Yeah.
This kind of came up as I was listening to everyone, but I think for me, anxiety it comes with thoughts. I'm thinking where intuition is more feeling.
Mhm.
Maybe I don't have words or thoughts up here, but I'm like, oh, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's anxiety, it's like, oh, I have a lot of words that are going on. So
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I love this. We're heading in the right direction. Any other thoughts before I continue with something? Okay. All right. So have you yet talked about, perhaps Austin mentioned last week, the gunas? Does this sound familiar? Okay. Hmm. I shall tell you.
We have 20 minutes left after we're checking to talk about Chakra.
It's okay.
You're like, oh no.
This is my surprise face. No, it's good. There's some check-ins do need to be like that, and he's really good at facilitating, like bringing out some of that stuff. So yeah, I love that. So the gunas. Think of the gunas, and it's Gunas if you're wanting to take notes on that. The gunas are like, think of them as qualities. They can be physical qualities, they can be energetic / spiritual qualities, but they're qualities that everything in existence has. Okay, so your thoughts can have these qualities, your physical being, your mental state can have these qualities. And so the first one is tamas, and it's Tamas. And tamas, when we look at it from a spiritual construct, it is like ignorance, right? Like think of like the lotus, right? And the lotus starts in the mud, and this is the mud. Okay. It's obscuring the truth. You don't know your spiritual abilities. You don't know who you are. And so it's really cold and kind of like tamasic, if you will, right? Like tamasic is very like heavy. Like think of like days physically when you just feel like bleh, like I can't get up and do anything. Those are very tamasic kind of qualities. And then we have rajas, and it's Rajas. And so, hey, rajas is kind of like that fiery, like from a spiritual perspective, it is, you know, there is something bigger and beyond you, but you just can't latch on to any one thing, right? Like you have no idea what it is, and you have no idea what to do with that information. So you're just like a free electron, like buzzing around, right? It's very like energetic. It's very like warm and heated. And so like think of those days when you feel anxious, right? That is a very rajasic kind of feeling, kind of sensation. And then kind of, so you think of like tamas here and rajas here, both are very necessary. You need those times where you're very much like kind of soft and quiet and sludgy and heavy. And you need those times where like your energy is about to like pound through the roof, right? And then slightly elevated, but different is sattva. Sattva. Sometimes it'll be pronounced sattva. Sattva is this like pure, calm, clear understanding of who you are in a spiritual sense, that you are not just the meat suit, right? Meat suit. That you're not just flesh, right? And bones, that you are something wholly other, and that you are not lacking anything. And the understanding of that is very peaceful, right? It's very clear. When I think of sattva, I think of like ringing a bell, like a perfectly clear, just the right tone bell, you know, that's just like brings you to a state of like peace. The throat chakra is actually the first sattvic chakra. So like in its nature, the throat chakra is sattvic. And so it's very peaceful. It's very pure. The third eye is also a sattvic chakra. And so when you have moments of intuition, intuition is very clear. It's very calm. It's not rajasic. It's not like, oh my God, we got to go do this thing right now because if we don't do this, then, you know, like it's not that. It's very much like, oh, okay, I see, I know, right? And when you have those moments, sometimes, most of the time, those moments are very much like stem from something that you couldn't possibly know, right? Like you don't know what's going to transpire in the future, but there is some moment of clarity, some moment of peace and purity that happens when you are in this sattvic state, that the message of intuition, I think of intuition as like a whisper at the back of your brain, like, hey, this is the thing, right? Whereas like anxiety is loud and it's like a drum beating against your head. And it's like the thing that like you can't sleep at night, right? Because your brain's like, hey, we haven't thought about this in a while. How about we think about this now? Hey, remember that thing that you said 3 years ago to that random person? Wonder what they're thinking about that right now. Right? Like that's like that anxiety. Whereas intuition is just like, it just whispers. And so part of like the throat chakra, I love that you said that, like you got quiet and really started listening to yourself, because that's part of it, right? Intuition is like a whisper. You're not going to hear it if you're flooded with constant noise. You're not going to hear it if you're constantly like anxious, or if you're tamasic, right? If you're kind of like, because you don't understand your potential. Make sense? Kind of really not much, but okay. Talk to me. What are you thinking? Go for it.
Analogy, I'm like a coffee pot and it's like bleeding
Uh-huh.
down into my brain right now.
Okay. Perfect. Percolating. Hannah, if you have anything you want to throw in, please you don't have to like raise your hand or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. No, you're good.
Like I mentioned, like the difference between knowing if something is coming to me via anxiety or intuition.
Uh-huh.
And especially you mentioned like pattern recognition with intuition. So like, but to me, like my anxiety is pattern recognition, if that makes sense. Like, oh, I see that these things have happened before, so therefore they must happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mhm,
So I feel
totally.
like I've always really struggled with that, but I think this helps to distinguish intuition as something that is more calm and more subtle and more modest, I guess.
Yeah.
As opposed to anxiety, which is
So my experience, and you're talking to a very anxious person. My experience with anxiety is that it's about controlling and having control over the scenario. So you're talking about like things that have already happened, right? And you're recognizing those patterns because it's like a protective measure, because I'm not going to let that happen again. Not this time, right? Whereas if we relinquish some of that need to control, that's when we can start to really hear more of those subtle little messages. And so it is tricky to like, the pattern recognition is just like one part of it. And that's kind of like taking the science aspect of what we're talking about and like, laying that on top just for a better understanding as to what intuition is. But intuition, yes, it's pattern recognition, but it's not necessarily the only part of it, right? That's one small part of it. The other part of it is trust, and again, letting go of the need to control, right? So when you have your homework, one of the things in your homework is to give up a treasured task and let somebody else do it, trusting that the earth is still going to rotate on its axis. Things are still going to be okay if you let someone help you make the bed. Nobody can help me make the bed. To be just so. But I mean, I'm like really hot since they started opening those doors. I'm gonna get like purple in the face. But think about like that, like how easy is it for you to give up something that I mean, I guess making the bed isn't something that I treasure. I don't like doing it, but I have to do it and it has to be a certain way, right? But can you let go of the control over whatever it is, and trust that you can let someone else help or do the thing and that everything is still going to be okay? Those are little things that you can do to help strengthen this idea of intuition because it's helping you to strengthen this concept of letting go and trusting. So, but yeah, that's a practice. What's that?
I have a question.
Okay, please.
So, like when you said it's like a voice in your head, intuition.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm from. Which I feel. So let's say I'm on board because I believe that, because I feel like I hear it, like a voice. And who's talking? Is it?
I don't know. Who's talking?
That I feel like, oh, I should do that. It usually takes me years to do the thing.
Oh yeah.
Like to come to yoga class, 12 years from the time that I got whispered to
Yeah.
do that till I'm sitting here.
But would you say that it was the right time for you to come when you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like intuition isn't urgent. It's not like telling you you have to do this right now. It's telling you that this is the path that you need to take.
And does, like, in the yoga tradition, did they say who that voice is? Is it supposed to be me?
It's your big S self.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all of us.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm like, well, how does that know this thing? When I don't want to do that. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we get into like past life experiences and things like that, right? So here, let me read this to you, because this might help kind of thanks. It's always an adventure. Yeah. So this command chakra is so called because it represents the level of awareness and harmony where it is possible for direct mind-to-mind communication between two people. It is the gateway to the inner temple of subtle initiation. And so it's the eye that looks inwards instead of outwards. It's the channel through which the spiritual aspirant receives revelation and insight into the underlying nature of existence. And so, whose voice is it? I don't know. The universe, nature, the whole, spirit, God,
Your guides.
whatever it is, whatever name you give it. But it's find them.
Oh. So I have a question
Uh-huh.
with chanting or with the, I don't know, I want to call it oming, but I guess it is chanting. Right?
Uh-huh.
You did the wrong.
Yeah, the bija sounds.
So this is our endpoint. We want with between our eyebrows, and that's our third eye that we're breaking it up to,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, so om is the bija sound for this.
The beats.
Mhm.
But whenever we do a chant like wrong, it always comes up into the third eye.
Mhm.
And that supposed to like enliven our how do you say
Sattva.
sattva?
So it's kind of, there's a couple different facets to it. So first and foremost, think back to like the first chakra night, right? We are studying them one per week just for like, educational purposes, but it's not, if you're going to sit down and work with your chakra system, you're not going to only focus on your root chakra, right? So bringing it up to the third eye, you're essentially bringing that vibration up through all of the chakras ending at the third eye, right? So that you're kind of bringing awareness and bringing prana to those areas. Being that it's the command center, it knows, third eye knows that your solar plexus is all kinds of out of whack. It knows that your heart chakra is bursting at the seams and, you know, all of these things. It's not necessarily command center in terms of like fixing these things, but when you bring awareness to this, you get more clarity with the rest of them. Yeah.
And so when we chant and we hold that right here, that's also part kind of like that completion that we work on.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
So in terms of like where it is, because if you perhaps if you are someone who feels sensations with the chakras and things like that, you may feel it right here at the center of your forehead, right? You might get like a heat or a pulsation right here. This is not actually your third eye chakra. The third eye chakra is actually dead center in the third ventricle of your brain. So it's like center in your head. And again, depending on the text and things like that that you read, the interpretations, all that good stuff, you'll find that ajna is not really a single chakra, but it's like a clump, a constellation of multiple chakras. It's called the third eye because it is directly behind this that you might feel physically is actually a minor chakra. So like this is one of them that like corresponds with the third eye. So do you have a question? Oh, you're just waving at me. Okay. I'm thinking about extending and flexing my knee and I'm not happy about it. Yeah, so it's, you know, being that its location is in the third ventricle in the brain, it's like this, that spot in the brain is like your neurological switchboard, if you will, right? So your cerebral spine, words today, I'm telling you what, cerebrospinal fluid, right, in your spinal cord, your sacrum nutates. And when it flexes forwards and back, it actually works as a pump for your cerebrospinal fluid. And so like when you are moving and practicing and things like just yelling over a vacuum. No, I'm just being silly. It's fine. It's actually like, you know, your third eye is like essentially bathed in that cerebrospinal fluid. And so if you think of it from like a really scientific way, right, that is where like your nerve bundles are, and it's sending those messages down your spinal column to the different nerve branches and things like that. So it's very like, it's very powerful in terms of its function in your body. So it controls a lot of things. So thinking in terms of like imbalances, right? So somebody who has a whole lot of prana, maybe overcharged in this area, what are some qualities that you might see that person exhibit? Sorry, my eyes are getting really dry now. Mm-hmm. Or undercharged, just what? Yeah.
In their head, they're not really here.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody that's just like, yeah, like constant daydreaming, like can't bring them back down to reality, right? Somebody that's like sees the thing happening right in front of them and they're like, no, it's okay. We're just gonna meditate this away. It'll be great, right? Like totally in la la land. I've known some people that I'm sure you've all known people that are just like, I need you grounded now.
With what you were just saying with like spinal fluid, that makes me think of somebody like all like unbalanced, off balance, like
Physically, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think about like emotional expressions? How do you think that might show up? So knowing that this is about like control, OCD. Could be. Someone who's maybe lacking prana might find like confusion, right?
Brain fog.
Brain fog, yeah. Not sure of your purpose, not able to make decisions, like you're really indecisive. So one of the things, and I'm looking to see if it's in here, but like sleep disorders, right? Like dreaming comes into play here too. Like, do you have dreams? Do you remember your dreams? Things like that. Too many pages open.
Which way it is, which if you dream and remember, you're more in that.
Probably. Mhm.
If you dream and remember, you're in balance.
In you are balanced. Yeah. Yeah. But someone who's like, doesn't fall asleep easily, doesn't stay asleep easily, maybe they have too much prana here, or someone who has like nightmares, things like that. Kind of like the words are escaping me right now, but like sleep paralysis, that kind of thing might be a little bit too overactive here. How do we, though, take these aspects of ourselves into understanding, and how, as you start to have a deeper understanding of how your third eye functions within your life, within your spirituality, things like that, how is this impacting your teaching? How do you think this ties into teaching yoga?
Going into a class with a certain plan or intention,
Mm-hmm.
and then being okay to let that plan go and to serve them to the students.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Being able to like read and understand without emotion, right? It's not with emotion or judgment. It's just simply like, oh, the energy in this room is different than the class that I have planned, and I'm not gonna hold tightly to that rigid plan that I have and serve the people that are in the room. Yeah, that's huge. What else? There's no right or wrong. Just checking in.
Think about like adjustments.
Mm.
Yeah. And I don't know why that's like coming up for me as like maybe it's about like reading energy and having like that physical contact with students. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Maybe that's more of a question.
Okay.
Than a real thought.
Yeah, it absolutely can. It can get tricky because it can kind of like pull into the heart chakra, right? Where like if the person who you're adjusting reacts in a way, maybe they stiffen up or they bristle or something like that, right? That can be challenging to not take personally, right? Oh, they don't like something that I did, right? It becomes more intuition where you're like, oh, okay, they need something different, right? Kind of like the same as what Eva was talking about with, coming in with the plan, right? So you go in with the intention to adjust someone, and it's, they tighten up or they kind of push against you, um, using that intuition to kind of shift focus. Yeah. What else?
I think like as a listener, I would see it like I would feel more intuitive as the student, and maybe like at the end of class that the students being like, oh my god, how did you know that I needed that? That's how I feel.
Oh yeah.
Learning like acknowledging like being attracted to either he or the energies that I see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I think there's also a comment that like yoga is a very spiritual practice in nature. So by being yoga is your doctor, like you're helping people find that peaceful state and get there and get really in touch with their spirituality. So yes, that's how I also see it really being a teacher. If you get people there, that requires a lot of trust, which seems connected to this something.
Yeah. Yeah. What about, and I'm going to pose a question to you or to anybody. What about the person that's like, I'm just here to sweat?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One day.
Yeah.
And now.
It could be easy, right? And that like kind of idea comes back to the idea of control, right? There was a time where I was like, it's more than the physical. You're not doing yoga if it's that in my head, right? Like you're just here to sweat and work out. You're doing like 5 chaturanga push-ups every half series. And now I'm like, cool, that's what you need. Go for it. Right. But it could be like it can brush up against your own ideas and beliefs and thoughts around what the thing is, right? And so yeah, I like that you brought that up of like just being that conduit for whatever needs to happen, right? Whatever needs to happen in the room, whether it's physical or anything else. How do you feel about, okay, so in terms of intuition, do you feel like you have a strong intuition? Do you trust your intuition? Do you have a strong knowing?
I actually have a question about this one.
Yeah, please.
So I read something that said like if you don't listen to your intuition, it stops talking. And that might be like very black and white, but like last week I talked about how I was in like a bad relationship and I knew deep down that it wasn't right for me, but I like stayed way longer than I should have. And now I feel like very much in the Tomas energy, like just kind of in a fog and like indecisive and like I'm kind of okay with that because I'm like I just need time to process. But also I wonder if that's true where it like stops talking if you don't listen to it, or like you said, like it doesn't really have a place in the masculine world of like it just isn't reliable, you can't really listen, like I don't know.
Yeah,
So
but
what do you
that's
think?
us being stuck in that, right? So that's coming back to like what we first started talking about with Ida and Pingala, right? And so that's kind of getting trapped in those like essentially like the webs of the nadis, right? The nadis, the Ida and Pingala are very essential, but they keep us kind of like trapped in that thinking of like it's this or it's that, right? Do I think it stops talking to you? No, not at all. Not at all. I think we stop being open to perceiving it and we convince ourselves that it's not a thing. So and a good example of intuition and how it functions in like day-to-day life. So think about you have a job interview and you get up and you're ready and you've got yourself dressed and then you knock something over and you have to clean that up and then you're running a minute late and you're like stressed out like I have to get there. As you do that, you run and you trip and step in mud or something like that, right? Like all of these things start happening because you're in this state of like rajas, right? You are like frantic, you're anxious about getting there, and you get every single red light on the way there, and you end up being later than you thought you were going to be, and everything goes to hell, right? Whereas if you have had moments of like, you know what, I need to be there, but okay, this happened, I'll deal with it, right? Okay, this happened, I'll deal with it. And then you notice that like as you're going, you leave at the time that there's no traffic. You get every green light. Like you end up, even though you left the house 5 minutes later than you needed to, you end up getting there either early or right on time, right? And so that's an example of like an everyday function of this intuition, right? Where it's just like if you can just let go of the stress and the need to try to control the situation, then the universe like conspires to move you forward. Does that make sense? You've never had that happen?
I mean, yeah, I guess in the bigger picture, I'm still confused.
Okay.
I feel like because intuition is big S, right? It's an inexhaustible energy. And you're talking about being quiet, and it's like in true yoga, they talk about like the more you're silent, then it starts to come together. And then, like you said, like you're gonna feel it in your body and stuff, which I've been really relating to everything. Heck yeah, I feel it in your body. So I feel like that's my kind of take on it. Like I don't think it's something that could like diminish and wither. It's something that like if you nurture the environment, it's gonna start to like just be more apparent. But it doesn't like
Yeah.
I think it's cultivated. Yeah, for sure.
It's also the piece of recognizing it, because I think you're right that we can't get rid of it. We all have it. I have no idea what it feels like, but I just don't. This isn't something that I can do, and I was raised religious, and I'm like working through spirituality, trying to kind of see where I land on that. And my source of knowing has always been like external in God. Like this whole like you know yourself is very, very important to me. So I don't recognize this feeling. I want to believe that it is there though. Yeah. So I think that's where I come to what you're talking about. It's like, what does it feel like for me? In my need.
Yeah. I love that. And actually, again, like kind of all of these pieces like leading up to each other. I was watching, one of my teachers was talking about a class that he's offering, and it's based on one of the Upanishads, like a quote from the Upanishads, and it is, I'm going to butcher the quote, but it's essentially like a lot of what you're saying in terms of like the thing that you need to know and understand won't reveal itself until you're quiet enough to hear it. And so the more you're able to calm and still your mind, and the more you're able to find that single pointed focus, the more likely it is that you're going to hear the thing that you need to hear. And so that leads me to believe that it's always there, right? It's always the vibration of the universe, the pulse of the universe, whatever it is that you want to call it, is always there, right? And it's just, but it's so subtle. It's so subtle that you have to find that silence in order to really hear it, to really experience it. And it may not be a hearing thing, right? Like we keep talking about like the little whisper of a voice, right? It may just be like a feeling, right? Just this overwhelming feeling of this is the direction of the path that I need to follow, right?
Would it be like Claire, like all the Claires, the clairvoyant, I can't say them.
Clairvoyance.
The hearing, it's the senses, right? That could also come, like, cause like, when you asked Hannah if she wanted to talk, I literally heard Eva and then you spoke. So I like hear things and sometimes I feel them. So like we don't all have like the one sense. We can have all of them. We're just always in our brains or like not paying attention to the like symbols or signs that are in front of us. So I feel like if like you said, it might not be a whisper, it was something else, like a feeling or like a sign that you see at the end so much.
Yeah. And it's been a while since I got into all of these, but I think it's clairsentience that happens with the third eye, right? Because it's like a sense. So clairsentience, clear sensing, clairvoyance is clear voice, clairaudience is the clear hearing. And so like they kind of get this like, you know, out there woo-woo kind of connotation, because it is, those things are very much associated with like metaphysics and things like that, and like, you know, the psychics and everything like that. But I would argue that we all have the ability to tap into these things, right? It's
practice.
It is. It's practice, but it's also your experience too. Like, so remember, like we start developing like in the root chakra, and you know, if you are raised in a family that like is like, no, this is the way that it is, and this is what you're going to believe, and you know, those other things don't exist, then it's going to be harder for you to like kind of weed through all of that muck, right? Whereas if you have, you know, if you grow up in a household like, you know, that's more open to those kinds of things, that like, you know, fosters those things, then it's going to be easier to tap into those kinds of things. And it comes into like cultural ability or cultural, you know, places and things like that, where it's like, you know, in the Western world, we're like, no, that's not useful. Get to work, right? None of that, like your gut feelings, your heart, none of that. We don't need any of that. We need you to work and produce and do it better and do it faster, right? Whereas like this is more like it's powerful. It's powerful.
I think there's another element too of like, you're probably not gonna think yourself into intuition, right? It's
Yeah.
like there, so sometimes maybe we put pressure on ourselves, like, why can't I hear my intuition, you know?
Yeah.
And so I read this book, Everyday Intuition, that I would recommend. It's like neuroscientists, psychics, there might be yogis and there, they look at it those really broad spectrum. I think that was this book that they talked about like tapping your mind with something before you go to bed, because so much of your processing happens there, and it's like, hey, you're not gonna figure that out on your own, because you can get caught up with like your kind of, and like your body and brain kind of figure it out for you, and then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, there it is, you know. So, and I will say from a personal standpoint, I did this with like trying to figure out if we were gonna move to Portland or not, and what that was all gonna look like, and it took like over a year though to really figure out what I was trying to get after, what did I want, but I kind of trusted the process too, and like, yeah, my intuition finally was like, yeah, okay, these are the things you should be doing, or maybe I just heard it better than them, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. It's again, it all comes down to like getting quiet, and it's challenging to get quiet, right? We're constantly bombarded with noise and static and pretty flashing blue lights that were like, ooh, scroll that, you know, and it's just there's so many things to distract us. And so that's the work of yoga, is really to kind of peel back all of those distractions, peel back the belief systems, the ideas of who we think we are, right? To kind of piece apart our experiences and figure out if like this is serving us, or if we need to let go of some of that. And you know, I don't know, maybe you will have these experiences, maybe you won't, you know, maybe it's not the time. But the thing that I'm going to urge you with all of this, and we'll talk about this when we get into meditation, is it's like the harder you try to reach for these things, the further away they get, because they are just their experiences. So if you have an experience, like let's say in meditation, where you have this like really peaceful and sattvic kind of experience where you have a bit of insight, if you go into the next meditation with the thought of like, well, that's the experience that I want, and that's the experience that I'm going to aim for, then it's going to get harder and harder and harder and harder to attain that state again. Because it's, again, you're trying to control and manipulate what's happening instead of letting it happen, right? Creating the conditions in order to have the experience. You're not going to go into meditation and be like, I'm going to experience samadhi today. I'm going to experience pure bliss and joy today. I bet you're going to have a real bad meditation. It's not going to be real peaceful. So yeah, take these things with like a grain of salt and just be open to whatever experience comes. Be open to whatever insight, whatever kind of little whispers come. Please.
And it kind of applies to all of the chakras, but are we all capable of having like the same amount of prana in each chakra? Like, would me and Beth, like, in an ideal, like, perfect situation, would our chakra system look exactly the same?
Mm-mm.
Or everybody has like a different
Mhm.
sort of pattern going
Yep.
on? So like one person could be super tapped into intuition versus another person's doing the same work is just never gonna have that same experience.
Potentially. Yeah. Potentially. I mean, we would get into a whole bird walk, talking about like, karma and samskaras and things like that, and all of the things throughout all of time and space that have brought you to this point, right? So all of the things that have happened across all time and space have made you Hannah, and you are uniquely you, and nothing can change that spark of divinity of your soul, whatever it is that you name it, right? Nothing can change that. So have you talked about, or have you gotten into the parts of the yoga history and traditions where we talk about Prakriti and Purusha? It's ringing a bell.
Can I ask like a tactical question
Uh-huh.
about that? Like the videos on the yoga history and things like that, their cadence we're supposed to be doing. I personally like don't know when we're supposed to watch it, so I haven't watched it yet.
No, just whatever works for you. I'm just asking because I just don't want to, I don't know if anybody's kind of talked about it, so I don't want to go super baseline.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're
I
fine.
like deadline.
Okay, understood. So Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is the part of you that you cannot change. It's your soul. It is who you are. It is your unique spiritual kind of thumbprint. Okay. Prakriti is all of the things about you that can change. Your hair color, your eye color, right? All of the things that can change. You can change your belief systems, you can change, your identities, things like that. So when we look at like, is your chakra system the same as Beck's? No, because that's like your spiritual thumbprint, basically, right? So it's unique to you. Does that mean that you can't ever tap into different abilities? Maybe, right? Because we all have our own unique dharma here, our own unique life's work to accomplish here. And so maybe tapping into the third eye isn't something that is where you're going, right? But that doesn't lessen any of the other experiences, abilities, qualities that each of us have. Make sense? Let's do a little meditation. Because I actually really like this meditation. So maybe this will kind of tie some things in for you. So if you can get comfy, you can sit on the couches, you can sit on the floor, whatever feels best. What are you sniffing?
Sleepy 15, it smells like chamomile. It smells so good.
Okay.
She said, "Do you want affogato?" Next week we drink it. I'm sure you want affogato. And I thought she meant ayahuasca. I was like, thanks, you roll. Like, I think I'm good, Kelly. Oh, you made that too, though. I was like, oh no, I forgot it.
Oh my gosh. Oh. All right. So come to a tall seat. We'll talk about this more when we do the meditation module, but when we look at meditation seat, we want to make sure that we're not essentially kinking the hose of our nadis, right? So we want to sit up nice and tall. And your eyes might close, or your gaze can find a soft point of focus. Just take a moment to breathe. As you allow your breath to settle, simply notice. You don't have to change it. Just allow the breath to be whatever it needs to be for this moment. And then start to deepen your breath a little bit. Allow the breath to find a pace that works for you. The inhale matching the exhale. And then if it feels okay, you can let your gaze, whether it's your physical gaze with your eyes or your internal gaze, start to draw up towards the third eye. And as you breathe in, feel the air enter into your nostrils, move up over your third eye, down the back of your throat, settle into your heart. And as you exhale, release tension, stress, sweeping. Do that a couple more times. Inhale through the nostrils, up over your third eye, down the back of your throat, settling into your heart. And as you exhale, release tension, stress, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual. And then over the next few breaths, as you exhale, start to move the attention towards the center of your forehead. In between the brows and just above your brow line. And imagine here an indigo blue chakra. The dark indigo glow of the chakra illuminates your mind and then spreads to the rest of your body. Begin to imagine an entrance to your mind through your third eye. You open the door and walk into an empty room. Feel free to decorate the room any way that you'd like. You can choose your color, the decor, the look, and the feel. Make it suit your tastes exactly, so that it becomes your personal sanctuary. There's no stress, just go with what feels right in the first moment. And once you have it just so, find the most comfortable spot in the room and sit down. As you sit in your spot, you realize that you can look out into the world from here. You can bring into focus the same thoughts, the same issues, situations, ideas, everything that occupies your day-to-day life. And you can sit and silently contemplate upon them with no judgment. Now see your sixth chakra spinning and gaining strength. And as it spins faster, the chakra's indigo light washes over you and pervades every cell, every pore in your body. Breathe deeply and feel the energy bursting forth from your third eye as rays of dazzling deep blue light. And rest in this awareness. Knowing that this space is yours and you can return to it at any time. Imagine gently standing up and walking to the door through which you entered the room. As you step out, look back at your inner sanctuary, feel one with it. And then again, find your breathing pattern in through the nostrils, up over your third eye, down the back of your throat into your heart. And as you exhale, release tension, stress, or any other little bits that you don't need any longer. Follow the breath for 2 more. Can you see it? Can you watch it as it moves? And then finally, draw a deep breath in. Gentle sigh, let it go. 2 more, just like that. Starting to come back to sensation. When you feel ready, you can let your eyes flutter open. How do you feel? Good job getting through it. Oh, you're all so quiet. Okay. That's all.
I didn't even hear the outside until just now.
Okay, nice.
That was the first experience with meditation where I felt it in my body.
Okay.
Like all the other times I feel like I've heard other people say like, oh yeah, I felt like this or I saw this color.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I've never had that before. And like I felt like my heart was beating right here. Like it felt like a pulsating the whole time. And it was like spinning. And I was like, it is spinning. How did you know?
I'm just a psychic. It's fine.
It was a very new experience.
Cool.
It's really strange for me because I could not visualize the space that you were asking us to visualize.
That's okay. That's
Like I couldn't come up with anything. And so then I got stuck.
That's actually fairly normal. And we'll talk about that when we get into the meditation. I can't visualize things either. So I'm not someone who can like, my daughter's always like, just picture an apple. I'm like, I know in theory what an apple looks like.
But I think what was weird is I'm normally like, that's not a problem for me. I'm pretty in my head, so I can kind of, but the space that you were asking us to, I was just.
Okay. So when we do any types of meditations, it's not right, it's not wrong, it just is, right? Whatever happens in the meditation. And that's your information to explore if you want to. it could be just that this is not the right time or place, you know? So just know that that's totally normal. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't visualize as well, but it brought me memories of my Reiki initiation. Like the level 1 and level 2, I saw the indigo color when I was being initiated. And in the second time, when I was being initiated, I had that feeling that my grandma was present. And I could even like smell her perfume. And so I believe that it was connected to the third eye chakra. Like I really felt her presence.
Yeah.
In the room. But something like really powerful.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had a similar experience. It was my grandfather and lilacs.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I get it. Yeah. But again, it's not, you know, if you don't have experiences like that, that's not bad. That's not wrong. It's not anything. It doesn't make your experience any less. Yeah.
That was the first for that breathing technique for me. I've never tried to visualize my breath up to here, you know what I mean? That was really nice.
Yeah.
And the indigo was nice and bright for me. That was really nice.
Okay. Yeah, that breathing technique I like a lot. I learned it a while ago, and it's just one of those things that's always stuck with me. Feeling the sensation of the breath moving that way is really like, for me, it's very like physical. I can actually feel it. So cool. You got something?
How'd you know? I wasn't gonna say anything.
I can feel it.
I don't know, just that the color really spoke to me. That's always been like, it reminded me of like right in the sunrise, and it's kind of like the glowy blue color where it's not actually light out, but it's like glowy and dark somehow. So I don't know, the color really stood out to me, and it's really powerful.
Cool. How about you, Hannah?
Yeah, I'm the same. The color really stood out. And then I did feel the first time you asked the color to like wash through the body, I felt that and I was like, ooh. So that was cool.
Cool. Who knows? Maybe you'll have some dreams tonight. See what comes up for you. So you've got your homework. You've got your, of course, your journal prompt. There is a couple other things here that aren't going to make sense to you if you read them. So one is, so try any of the following and journal about your experience. You can meditate or use a mantra each day. See what comes up for you. Play the intuition game with your loved ones. So the intuition game is a game that we used to do in here, but it would get too rowdy and we would disturb the yin class. So it would get way out of hand. So basically what you do is someone you are close to or someone in your sangha, you get together and you decide one of you is going to be the message sender, one of you is going to be the message receiver. So you kind of sit back to back. You breathe for a few moments, kind of get into that meditative state. And whoever is the message sender thinks of it a simple object, right? And the message receiver is then supposed to try and pick up on that message and draw whatever the other person's sending through. And then you flip roles. You switch roles to see, if you can do it the other way. When we would do it here, it was always interesting because we would have a pair that, would have completely weird random things, like they would not be matched up at all, but maybe somebody across the room would have the thing, right? That the other person was like, So it got real loud in here a lot. I was like, we can't do that anymore. We can't do that anymore. But it's just a fun kind of like silly way to like, because I'm sure there are people that you have deeper connections with, right? And so like, I'm sure if my daughter and I did this, it would be scary. It would be terrifying.
Sister,
Did you?
car rides. What am I thinking about right now?
Yeah,
And it was like blueberries or something, 9 times on.
yeah,
But we always do it, yeah.
yeah.
You guys ever seen those TikToks where it's like, guess what number I'm about to draw? Have you, those, that freaked me out the first time I saw one of those. It's like 23, and then it was 23. I was like, like,
Why are you here? Get out of my brain. That's weird. No, I've not seen, I'm lame. I don't know. I'm not cool.
I always thought to because
Ah.
So fun.
Yeah, but it's a fun one. Mhm.
When you're with someone and you guys say like I'm talking, we're both or like I'm talking all of a sudden you say the same word that I'm about to say, would that be division or would that like what would that be like? Has that ever happened to you? Because you say like connection, right? Like it should be like when you're with someone and you spend so much time with this
Mhm.
person and something like that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like it's got to do with your level of connection. I mean, it could be intuition, I don't know, but I mean, that'll happen with my husband. Like he'll turn around and go, "What?" And I'm like, "I didn't say anything." He's like, "You thought something though, didn't you?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, getting out." Putting the wall back up. Leave me alone. I mean, it could be intuition. It could be just that you're so connected, right? Like when you're so connected with another person, you live in the same household, things like that. Like again, it kind of comes down to like those pattern recognitions, right? They know you're going to do the same things all the time and you're overlaying your nervous system with that person, you know? So it can be thought of as intuition. It can also just be like they just know you on a level that sometimes I think better than you know yourself.
It's freaky. Like my husband, like a few years ago, he said that my spirit was on the side of the bed near him while my body was sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, that is weird because like what he was doing just like staring at you. And he said that yes, I was just there
Just
watching him.
just hanging out.
And then just stay quiet.
That's funny.
You know, that's weird.
Yeah. This other one here is to share your vision board with someone. And so this is kind of like an extra little homework assignment in terms of creating a vision board, but it's not just like a vision board where like, you know, I want to go on, you know, this vacation or have this house or what have you. It's more of, I want you to think of it and make it more of a meditation. So the idea with it is to go back to your heart chakra and meditate for a few moments on like your heart's true desire or your passion, right? And then as you meditate on that, move your attention up to your third eye. So as you tune in at the third eye, you envision and see your heart's true desire coming true. It comes to fruition. And what does that look like, right? You don't try to like overthink it or anything like that. You just allow it to unfold. And then using whatever materials you want, you might, you know, cut scraps out of magazines and things like that for this, or you might just draw or write words. But basically, then that's where you start to create that vision board for yourself. And so you can do that if that calls to you, and share that with someone. That's what I wanted. Okay. And then, of course, we talked about this earlier, but you could turn over that treasured task or pastimes to someone that you might not normally allow to participate. See how it goes. Are you someone that always rearranges the dishwasher after it's been loaded? Oh, did I just call you out? These examples come from experience. So it's, yeah, I'm calling myself out most of the time. Or if there's something else, you know, something else that is important to you that you don't normally allow someone else to participate in. Is there some way that you can allow someone to participate in it and see what happens? Does the world implode if there's a wrinkle in the sheets? You can do your self-test and see how you stand with that. And yeah, play around. Get woo with it this week. Stare at the people at work and be like, what are you thinking? I can read your mind.
And
What's that?
I think this is gonna be the really hard. I'm excited about it.
I love that. That is a great attitude to have. Yeah, it can be a lot. It can be overwhelming, but just know also that like it is what it is, and we don't have to change or shift any of it, right? We don't have to fix anything. You are right where you need to be. You're already whole. You're already complete, and you lack nothing. Just have fun with it. See what happens. What?
I didn't believe that.
Oh,
When you said it, I was thinking, yes, I told you that.
you lack nothing. You're perfect just as you are. Believe it, because that's how you get to see your students, right? That's ultimately what we're doing here, is through all of this exploration with chakras, is to explore all of the ways in which we see ourselves as lacking and remember that we're not, so that when our student shows up and they feel lacking, we can hold them in that same regard. They're already perfect. They don't need anything else. It's a hard sell. Indeed, but it's true. All right, friends. How are we feeling about this chakra? You want to do a word? Get out of here a couple minutes early. Okay, let's start. Which way did we go? So we came this way. Let's just go this way. Go back around. Actually, Hannah P, you go first.
Grateful.
Awesome.
Intuition.
Relax.
Me too.
Meditation. Quiet. And reframe.
Sattva. Oh, thanks, y'all. This is life-giving. I needed this. I was pretty sure I was gonna like wipe my poor husband's face off today. I'm not good with being still and doing nothing. So here we are. All right. I hope you feel better.
Thank you. I'll see you guys Thursday. Have a good night.
Yeah.